Good morning. Magandang umaga po, mga kababayan. Maayong aga sa tanan. This is your host, Jing Paras, welcoming you once more in our program. Koffe Klatch, aired on Sovereign PH TV 911, serving our great community. Koffe Klatch is a program where the issues are always brought to you hot and steamy. I am here with me, my partner, Saldua, and Paglinawan.
Thank you, Jing. This is adopagkalinawan, mixing the brew of your favorite coffee with the latest issues to help improve the lives of the Filipinos, but bringing them the latest, delivering to you nothing but the truth.
Thank you so much for being here with us this Saturday, and we hope that you can continue to join us every Saturday with a cup of coffee in hand. And of course, we are welcoming you all to please share your comments, share your views in the comment section on Facebook and on YouTube, since we are live right now.
Well, partners, so many things has been happening in our country today. Things are not quite so well, and it's hard to digest news coming from all over town. Basically and undeniably, the latest and top issues, not only in the country today, but all over the world, are all related to COVID-19 pandemic and the vaccines. These are truly very challenging for our leaders and frontliners.
Exactly, partner Jing, not only for our leaders, but for those in the health and medical field. Still, hospital ICUs are filled to the brim. COVID patients could not be accommodated all at once. And what is happening today to our vaccination program? We have not even hit 1,000 a day of our target.
Yes, that is actually a very sad fact that we are living with. You are very right, Ado. And as of today, the coronavirus has claimed about 3.3 million all over the world, and about, let's say, more than a million here in the Philippines alone. So that's 10% of the population infected. And right now we're trying to figure out how do we position ourselves in the line of safety against the dreadful and unseen virus, an invisible enemy, as you will. Scary as it were, we should not forget to keep safe and protected, and as much as possible, really focus on our health.
Well, scary is an understatement. As a matter of fact, we should let our fear and guards down. The fear for the virus should not get better of us.
That's true,
my friends.
That's true.
Yes.
For instance, private companies have been asked to share their vaccine allotment with the government, but most are procuring vaccines for their employees to try to return to normal work schedule to keep company and workers' heads above water. Companies are paying for their orders if allowed by the government, whereas government vaccines are supposed to be free.
Mm-hmm.
Should that be the other way around? Where did the budget or loans to purchase the vaccines go?
My guess would be the ayuda. Not as that's my guess, because as much as possible, I know that the government is trying to help with a lot of the people who need the ayuda, because of course it's a day-to-day basic need for their expenses. But it is very difficult to be happy about the situation when the budget is not really going to where it's supposed to, which is the solution, and that is having ourselves vaccinated, and therefore we'll continue to have herd immunity once we continue to vaccinate everybody. But that's my guess.
Well, today one of the departments of the government, the Department of Science and Technology, has been in the forefront, being tasked with looking into possibilities of addressing the need for the vaccines, the need for new medicines, uh, and they have been involved with various studies. So today we will be guesting. We will be hosting one of our guests in the past few days, Mr. Richard, or Doctor. Is it Doctor Richard? Director Richard Burgos of the Department of Science and Technology. So, Z, would you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, our director, Richard P. Burgos, he is the director of the DOST, as you mentioned, a Science, Technology, and Information Institute. And he is here with us to share with us more on the science behind it, what we are trying to do in terms of our innovation as we face the virus. Because right now, we've been having guests before talking about the IATF, talking about the efforts of the army, but in terms of the insurgency problem. But right now, we would like to talk more on the science, since everybody is saying, let's just go back to the science and how we can address the COVID vaccine.
Yes, I guess Director Burgos can give us more insights on what his department is doing on addressing the problems, logistic problems faced by our country today. So no one can tell when this COVID-19 will dissipate, but for certain, we are citizens who are very concerned and can follow health measures proposed by our leading leaders and strategists who will be giving us more insight on this. So, without much ado, let's welcome Director Burgos. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
My buntag, USEC Jing. Good
Oy.
morning, everyone. And yes, I'm so happy to join Koffe Klatch and to talk about what DOST is doing in the area of helping the country on many fronts. Kasi hindi lang naman po vaccine development ang tinutulungan o tinututukan ng DOST. All right? I'm actually a stand-in for our department secretary for Tunato, Boy de la Peña, who unfortunately cannot make it to this interview or guesting because he has another previous commitment at the same time. So, I'm the director of the Science and Technology Information Institute. Kami po yung library arm of the entire department, and we service all the department agencies and regional offices by promoting what they're doing. All right, so you can imagine how many. There are more than 20 agencies involved here. So in the area of health, okay, DOST has been designated as the lead in the sub-technical working group on vaccine developments in the Philippines. So yes, we are occupying a leadership role here, but the scope of that role is quite large. So we're not just focusing on COVID-19, although that is the more urgent task right now. We're also focusing on other areas like developing vaccines against viruses and diseases for, let's say, animals, di ba? Kasi ngayon nakikita natin meron din tayong problema with pork. All right? So, madami po yan. Ang clinical trials that we are looking at really involve many other things like, for example, virgin coconut oil as an adjuvant, you know, kasi pwede siyang gamitin talaga to help patients, particularly those with mild symptoms. Kasi karamihan naman ng COVID positives are mild lang sila. by ingesting coconut virgin oil, I think the trials have shown that they can be assisted na hindi sila mag-progress into the more severe cases. Okay, so DOST has also supported the development of the first locally made RT-PCR detection kit. Okay, so we're trying to develop a local detection kit, and it's called Gen Amplify. So medyo there's a big cost kasi to using detection kits that are commercial. Okay, so there are also clinical trials ongoing for several repurposed drugs. We've heard about ivermectin. Yes, we're doing clinical trials on that right now, and we hope that in the next 6 months or so, we should be able to have a more definitive recommendation. See, in the minds of people, mura siya, bakit hindi bibigay? Ay, hindi po kasi ganun, di ba? Hindi ka basta-basta magbigay unless you have evidence that it is effective. Okay? So, and that's the role of the clinical trial. So, hindi po yan minamadali kasi if you influence that, even politically, all right, you may be exposing your people to greater harm than good. We're looking for the good of the people here, but let's not give them something which will have more problems later on than we can solve. All right? So aside
Director,
yes, sir.
You just mentioned ivermectin, and this has become a very
Hot topic.
controversial, very hot issue. Even members of Congress had been pushing this. They have been giving samples or giving bottles of this drug. So it now fell in your lap, and it seems that you are being hurried to really determine, because a lot of people are taking chances of getting this drug on the pretext that it is very effective, and they say if we cannot have the vaccine yet, let's have this ivermectin. So far, what have you come up with in terms of the clinical study that you're doing right now?
The clinical trials are ongoing. As I said, maybe in the next 6 months or so, we will have a more definitive recommendation. All right. So, wag natin lang siyang madaliin. Okay? Because for those people who are not doctors, but they prescribe certain medicines, pag mayroong side effects yun or hindi siya naging mabisa, sino ang hahabulin nung napinsala? All right? I mean, there are many repercussions to what we are doing right now. So, I think this raises a very fundamental question, because today, kailangan maniwala tayo sa science. Okay? And our experience, especially for our institute, because we monitor, for example, public awareness about science and technology, it shows that we have very, very low awareness about and appreciation about science and technology in the country. When I assumed the directorship of STII in 2016, just 5 years ago, we had no benchmarks, we had no data, we had no surveys about these things. So one of the first things we did was to commission a survey. Okay, and we found out in 2017 that the national awareness level about science and technology is very low at 6%. Okay, so anong maasahan mo? Ang mga tao talagang mahilig sa mga kantahan dyan, boxing dyan, whatever, pero hindi mahilig sa science, di ba? And you can expect that if something like this happens in the country today, ang kanilang frame of mind hindi systematic, hindi scientific. Okay? So, but over time, we have seen that number grow from 6% in 2017, more than double yan, nagiging 13% yan the next year, and then nagiging 16% in 2019, it was 18%. And last year, it was at 23%. So it's a steadily growing number, because we're trying to really influence how people perceive, especially news and information from science and technology, the Department of Science and Technology. So encouraging yun, 23% na ngayon. But that means to say that 77% of our people are still not aware. No, nakakagulat yung number na yan. There's a lot of work for us to do. But I think it's not the work only of DOST. I think it's a whole of government work. No, na kailangan din natin na bigyang pansin ang pag-develop ng culture of science and technology in the country. Okay, beginning with young students. Okay, so we're working very hard with the Department of Education and many other partners, including from the private sector, to help increase this awareness and appreciation for science and technology in the country. So there are other things that we are doing in the area of the health issues today. For example, meron tayong mga other clinical trials looking at melatonin as an adjuvant, yung lagundi at saka yung tawa-tawa, which are good for other things like dengue, but they could be good also for COVID-19. So,
meron dito sabong effectively to reduce kidney stones and other kidney diseases. And as an aside,
so hanapin natin yung merong antiviral properties na mga gamot, mga halamang gamot. At but with greater evidence, we can more definitely recommend their adoption as an adjuvant in preventing the COVID cases to turn from mild to severe. Alam nyo, COVID patient din po ako, nagiging positive po ako, and I spent 6 days in the hospital. It's not something that I will wish even on my best friends, you know, because right now the hospitals are full. It was an effort. 2 days kami naghanap ng hospital. Okay? And just to survive this experience, oh my God, 6 days lang ako, but yeah, of course, I understood. They also wanted me out of the hospital very quickly kasi ang haba po ng pila sa labas ng hospital. Ano, so it's not something, it's not luxurious at all. Kailangan i-continue mo yung recovery mo sa bahay. So, yun po. So, mahirap po talagang magiging severe ang case. In my case, I had pneumonia in both lungs. So, I had bilateral pneumonia and I needed a little bit of oxygen to make sure that dissolved oxygen in my blood would be at a certain healthy level. All right? So, the problema din yan, okay? Well, the majority of cases of COVID patients are mild, okay? And can be managed from home. Pag nangyari yan, na nag-progress yung sakit mo to a more severe one, sino mag-aalaga sa iyo? Wala kang nutrition, wala kang proper access to medication, to equipment sa bahay. Alright? Lalong-lalo na kung wala kang kapatid or kamag-anak or reliable healthcare professional to look after you. So, our system, yes, Ado.
Napakalaking boost po, lalo na sa traditional at saka alternative na tagapitan. Tuwa na you are in this kind of development of traditional cures. And to be a little bit more sophisticated, itong sumasalubong na balita ngayon ay ibinibigay po sa DOST ang pag-establish ng isang virology institute. And not a few senators have already filed a bill for this. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, minamadali na ito. And ano po ang development na ito? Meron na po pang mga design ng building, mga systems and all that in preparation. Balita po namin sa New Clark City sa Tarlac itatayo ito. Totoo po ba yun?
Tama po yan. So, alam nyo ba na ang initials ng institute na ito ay VIP, Virology Institute of the Philippines? Okay, so nagpapasalamat kami sa malaking suporta na binibigay ng ating pamahalaan sa pagtatayo ng ating VIP, Virology Institute of the Philippines. Yes, so it's still in the process of setting up. Hindi po madali kasi yun, lalong-lalo na merong issues about availability of materials and people to get things done. Okay, so the thing is, it's approved and it's being built, and so it's going to look at studying other viral other agents that will focus on, let's say, vector and reservoir transmission, on viral ecology, on all these clinical virologies. Madami pong technical issues that they have to study. But I think it's the right time, okay? Kasi as I said, hindi lang humans, although that's the most important thing, di ba? But we also have viruses impacting our plants. Our banana crops can actually be wiped out by a virus. And we've had like viruses that have been there for a long time. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa natin na susugpo, right? And we've seen that also happen among our livestock. Yung pork natin, yung pigs natin. So, ano ba ang dapat natin gawin nito? Kailangan meron tayong expert pool that can immediately respond to threats that come up. Of course, it's more urgent now yung ating COVID-19 and what we can do about it. Okay? So, yun ang pangunahing topic natin. Okay. So, but there are other things that we are looking at to help people in the pandemic. Just to cite a few examples, we are working with the DILG for the adoption of SPAS. Ano itong SPAS? This is the Safe, Swift, and Smart Passage application. It's an online platform. Okay, so if you are a traveler and you want to move from one place to another, you have to use this. Okay? So, mas mabilis po siya, mas madali mong malaman. Kasi in some parts, okay ka lang dumaan, okay, o pumasok. Kasi wala silang restrictions. In other governments, especially provinces, no, they will require you to produce a travel coordination permit. Okay? Kasi restrictive sila. Hindi lahat ang pinapapasok nila. Okay? And you can do that on this platform. Okay? So, meron namang mga provinces na pwede mong daanan papunta sa province na gusto mong puntahan. At kung hindi naman sila restrictive, kailangan mo lang mag-produce ng travel pass-through permit. Okay? So, para ipakita mo kung may checkpoint na pwede kang dumaan. Okay? So, this is a project that was set up by DOST Region 6 particularly, and it's been adopted by IATF. And in coordination with the DILG, this is in place already po. So it's a very simple and easy to use application. You just need to create an account and you identify where you are coming from and where you are going to. And then makikita mo doon yung province na pupuntahan mo kung restricted ba sila or unrestricted. Kung unrestricted, just go ahead. You don't need anything. Kung restricted, you have to produce a travel coordination permit. And you can use the app to communicate directly to the province, and they will give it to you. All right?
So, Director, I think this is a question that I've been having for a while, and I think you're the perfect person, or probably the one that can really answer this, because for someone who is young and uses a lot of apps, I'm always confused why we have so many different apps for so many different cities and different, for example, there was the Safe app, right? It's been used by certain establishments. You also have a different app for traveling. During my travels to Coron, I used a Trace app, the Trace with a Z. So it's Trace, TRAZE. And this was used in the airport and in Coron, and also during the flight. So wherever we go, each checkpoint, whether it's arriving at the airport, arriving at the boarding the airplane, you have to scan the Trace app so that it's automatically there. For the SPAS, is this going to be a unified app for everywhere that we will go to, or is it just going to be entrance into certain provinces? Because honestly, for someone who uses apps regularly, it's really confusing on how many apps we have to download for how many establishments and entrances to certain venues. Even Pasig has its own app, and it's different from if I go to Makati, may ibang app na naman dyan. For me, honestly, it's very difficult also for people who are unaware or unfamiliar with apps to download and to have to repeat the same information For me, since I'm very familiar with these apps, a lot of it is data mining. A lot of it is trying to get, the data of the people, which wouldn't be a problem if it's unified, if it's under the government, like what the DOST is doing. And I completely support the SPAS if that's the whole point, to make it unified and not to have it
Yeah.
dispersed. So what are your comments on that?
All right, so two things. There are apps for every issue or problem, right? The problem that we're trying to solve with SPAS is travel coordination. You're moving from one place to another. Now, LGUs are also concerned about contact tracing. Saan ka napunta? Sino yung kasalamuhan mo doon? If you went to a restaurant, sino yung mga tao? And they develop their own. So, medyo in the area of travel coordination, this has been standardized because it's being supported by DILG, all right, through the League of Governors of the Philippines, all right. So it's an online travel management system. Kasi pati yung mga airports are also supervised by LGUs, all right. So I think for people to know that there is SPAS, which can help facilitate their movement from one province to another, is going to be a big help. Okay, but I think what we need is to have a menu. Okay, and maybe IATF should provide that framework, so that what are the things that you need to prepare for when you move from one place to another. Securing a travel authority is just one. Okay, and SPAS is there. It's already proven. It's being adopted by, I think, a great majority of provinces in the country. So it's on the ground. Okay, but there are other applications which LGUs, in particular, would require of their citizens and visitors, and combining all of that, putting that into a menu kind of thing, so you can choose. Okay, I need to go to this town, and they require me to do this. How do I get this done? So I think that's still work in progress, and I hope we will hear something about that soon. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I understand in terms of traveling, there is this task force. It's called COVID Task Force Shield. I think it's being run by the Philippine National Police. I understand whenever you want to travel, you course it through them and get a travel authority. So would this SPAS and COVID Shield Task Force will be bond together in terms of facilitating this travel, Director?
Exactly. I think the travel authority that used to be required can now be observed by presenting the travel coordination permit. Okay, if you're going from your place to a restricted place, you need a travel coordination permit. So from travel authority ngayon, kailangan mo na mag-produce ng travel coordination permit. Now, if you're passing through provinces which don't require additional documentation, you need to produce a travel pass-through permit, and that can easily be acquired through the SPAS application. Now, this requirement is vetted by Resolution 101 of the IATF, okay? And it binds both travelers and LGUs. So I think the IATF has made sure that this is binding. So ito na po yung ating susundin ngayon. Okay? So yung travel authority dati, ngayon kailangang mag-present tayo ng travel coordination permit at saka travel pass-through permit. Yan po.
Now being implemented.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ma'am Z. Ito na po ngayon.
And we can download it now.
Yes po.
It's available
You
for
can
download.
it. Okay, you just go to s-pass.ph. Okay? And it's a very simple application. Okay? I just needs to make sure that you are a human. So, you are not
But
a machine. You are not a pig.
sometimes Sometimes,
Yes, sir.
Director, the complication is this. There is a colatilla in every IATF resolutions or regulations subject to the local government. So if we have this kind of app, and uh, probably it's supported by ITF regulations or guidelines, but there must also be, I guess, uh, an acceptance
Yes.
by all the local government units, because otherwise, you know, uh, if the local government in particular would want to impose its own system or its own rules, regulations on travel, this might not be effective in the sense that it's only limited to the NCR or probably NCR plus. But when you reach a certain remote municipality or city, then they might not be aware, or perhaps they would impose their own regulation, and it will screw up this system.
All right. So responding to that, I think the DILG is a major part of the development of SPAS, and the National Police also. In fact, during the press launch, the DILG, the National Police, the IATF, DOST were all duly represented. So it's an interagency collaborative platform also. Now, if I invite you to also visit the site. Again, the site is www.s-pass.ph. It's a very simple, easy to use application. And if you look at all the provinces there, makikita mo na kung ang policy ba nila ay restricted or unrestricted. And also you have a sense of whether they are using SPAS or not. Meron pa rin pong mangilan-ngilan na mga provinces and chartered cities na hindi pa gumagamit ng SPAS. Alright? Alright? But at least you know, meron kang indication, di ba? Just by looking at the list ng the menu. Okay, so malaking tulong po ito for travelers talaga. So sana
But
po.
it's not a contact tracing app, just to be clear lang for our viewers.
Come again po?
But it's not a contact tracing app.
It's not a contact tracing app. Okay? So kung merong if somebody accosts you and asks for a travel permit or travel authority, etong SPAS registration mo ang ipapakita mo, no? And whether you have you're able to produce a travel coordination permit or the travel pass-through permit. So yun lang po ang kailangan mo i-present.
Going back, Director, to the previous issue, of course, you were saying that so much development in terms of looking into medicines or cure for COVID-19. However, now the trust is on the vaccine. It would seem that we are somehow left behind in terms of giving vaccines to our people. The arrival of the vaccines come in trickles. It seems, I think yesterday or the other day, there was a 1.5 million doses of Sinovac, then another. So it's not really in bulk. We have 110 million Filipinos, and it comes in trickles. So I'm a bit concerned if the OST is looking into vaccine production also, or studying how to come up, not only maybe in terms of COVID vaccine, but in the future addressing other viral infections, other communicable
It's a very
infections.
valid concern, and thank you for bringing that up. DOST has been recently in touch with local companies who have, raised their hand and said, yes, we have certain capabilities to go into vaccine production. Okay? Meaning to say, dito na natin buuhin. But of course, the research and development is done elsewhere, di ba? Pero yung local capacity, we're trying to build that up. And I think they have identified 6 or something like that, 6 local companies that are in a position to do that. So magandang balita yan kasi dati-dati nobody cared, nobody knew. But now, at the instance of DOST, 6 companies have raised their hand and said, yes, we can do something like that. Okay? So we hope to hear more developments in this area as we work with these private companies. Maybe they will have to retool themselves or restructure their processes, but they're willing to do it. Okay.
And what do you think? What do you think? What do you think would be the timetable for this? Will you still be able to catch up po tayo sa, because considering the intake or the coming of our vaccines is not really enough to arrive at what we call herd immunity, so to speak. Will it be able to catch up your development in this area?
I think it's a catch up strategy, because I think the procurement of vaccines in the global level is being hampered by, number one, the shortage of production, and number two, the bargaining power. Okay, poorer countries, and I think we're flagging it out. We are a poor country. That's why parang parang we are already digging deeper into our graves, no? Pag ganun, we are not leveraging other things. So, pero siguro totoo rin, I mean, UK is trying to control also how much of their vaccines they can share. And even India had a turnaround in their position to sell vaccines because they need it themselves primarily. So national governments can also control the distribution of vaccines. And yes, tayo, Philippines, small country, wala naman tayong control doon. So globally, there are big issues at play here. All right. So, but I think if we develop our local capability to produce the vaccines locally, we will be addressing that shortage issue. Time-wise, okay, it's a new initiative. So, but I think the fact that 6 companies raised their hands and said we're willing to work on this, we can do it. So maybe with the help of government, they will be able to do that soon. Yung timeline lang, alam ko that they know this is also very time sensitive, but it's too early to tell kung kailan sila talaga magiging off the production table.
Just to segue a bit, Doctor, from the health issues and the pandemic, may proactive na ginagawa ang DOST dito sa development ng mga trend. Yung bang dinevelop po ninyong hybrid na trend, is it plying the route right now? At saka yung meron kayong in-experiment sa UP, sa University of the Philippines, para po tinanggal na yung monorail or something. Could you give our audience a little bit on this?
So the DOST, through the Metals Industry Research and Development Center, DOST MIRDC, has been really looking at ways to help the Philippines in its transport problems. No? And we know that the train is a reliable mode of mass transportation. Okay, we don't need more taxis and private cars on the road. We need more trains on the road. Okay, and so we have developed a number of prototypes. Yung naka-display sa UP noon was a prototype. Okay, so it's just to show na pwede natin gawin ito. However, parang inayawan ng UP yun after a while. But so tinanggal yun doon. But there is still a working model in the DOST campus in Bicutan for anybody to see. But yung automated guideway transit, yung AGT, kagaya na nakita sa UP, isa lang yun. Meron pang mga ibang models ang na-develop ang MIRDC, and that includes yung road train, parang 4 or 5 buses linked together so they travel as one. Mas marami pong pasahero ang pwede nating ma-transport at any one trip, di ba? And mga LGUs have been actually very curious, and they have tried it out. For example, this was tried out in Isabela, all right? I think also General Santos tried to do it. Cebu tried to do it, kaya lang yung very narrow yung road sa Cebu, especially dun sa old part of the city. But Gensan had wider roads, so mukhang they're interested. Isabela also was very interested, and I think it's moving forward in Isabela. Okay, now there is a third modality for mass transport solutions from MIRDC, and this is the hybrid electric train. So it's a train set designed by Filipino engineers, manufactured locally at a fraction of the cost of imported train sets. Okay, so we're talking with PNR here to adopt the technology, kasi why spend a lot of money, and why not develop our own capability to maintain train sets? So yan po, ngayon the breakthrough there is PNR has decided to work with MIRDC, particularly in the production of spare parts for train sets. So ayan, kayang-kayang gawin dito yan, hindi na natin kailangan mag-import. At sa tulong ng MIRDC, ayan po, nagkasunduan na ang PNR. But yung train set, hybrid electric train, actually, I think it's still traveling hanggang Muntinlupa. Okay, so just a trial run. But so hopefully PNR will also adopt that. No? It's not a very fast-moving train, but in the city, if you move the train in the city, you don't need a very fast-moving train. Okay, yeah. You just need for them to leave on time and arrive on time. Okay, so yun, magandang development yan for mass transport. But going back to what I said earlier, that we really need to promote a greater awareness and support for developing a culture of science and technology in the country. Kasi mababa siya, no? There is a lot to be done here. Our agency is one of the smallest agencies of the Department of Science and Technology. Okay, and very varied kasi yung DOST. Ano ha? You have the research institutes, kagaya ng MIRDC or the Philippine Textile Research Institute, the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute, all the research institutes. Plus, we have 3 councils. They are the funding agencies, and they prioritize projects that DOST will fund. One for agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources, and that's PICARD based in Los Baños. Another one is health, research, and development, and that's based in Bicutan. All right, and they work very closely with DOH. Actually, we hold the research and development funding of DOH, but we help them prioritize spending of that budget. And then we also have the Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Resources. Sila rin po ang nagpa-prioritize ng government budgets for spending on R&D in these areas, industry, energy, and emerging resources. Okay? And then we have support agencies like Philippine Science High School. There's a Philippine Science High School in every region in the country, and objective there is to raise, brilliant students in the sciences to feed into our STEM track of education. Kasi po, medyo mababa yung ating number of qualified researchers, engineers, and technical people compared to the rest of the world. For example, I think UNESCO has established a benchmark na dapat may 385 researchers, technologists, engineers tayo per million population. Hindi pa natin naaabot yun. Whereas if
why do you think that is, Director? Like, why do you think that in the Philippines, STEM hasn't really been given a lot of importance? Because back in the day, no, STEM is really one of the main things that all of the parents want their children to be involved in. They really want you to be good in math and science. They really want you to focus on being doctors and being in those fields. But nowadays, like you said, it was really a very low percentage, although it is growing slowly. But compared to past years, maybe in the 70s or the 60s, it's very, very different. Why do you think now there's less interest or less awareness in STEM?
Well, I think traditionally, even before, when you say, oh, ano bang gusto mo? You know what, in India, you ask any student, they want to be an engineer, okay, or a doctor, both science and technology fields. Yung dalawa lang. That's the number one response. In the Philippines, pag tinanong mo yan sa mga bata, ano bang mga sagot niyan? Ay, gusto ko maging sailor. Kasi nakikita nila mas malaking mga bahay ng mga marinero, di ba? Gusto ko maging nurse. Okay, that's a health professional. Okay. Engineer, little lang, konti lang, di ba? Kasi mahirap eh. Di ba? And that is the mindset. Mahirap ang science and math. Okay? So, sino ba ang nagpapadali ng pag-aaral tungkol sa science and math? Mga teachers. Our teachers, are they equipped? Are they trained well enough to teach science subjects and math subjects? Sino ba? I mean, when we were growing up, math, next, parang gano'n, hanap ng iba. Okay? Kasi mahirap yan eh. Para sa mga genius yan eh. But you know what? It can be made very interesting. I remember I had a geometry teacher in high school who sort of like brought me completely around and appreciate the sciences. Kasi iba yung kanyang approach, di ba? So I think a lot of this depends on the quality of our teachers also. And
That the K+12 program has helped in the awareness and helped the percentages increase, because it did seem like it was coincidental, or it supplemented the increase of what you were saying from the 7% to 12% to 16%. You think the K+12 had anything to do with that?
well, right now, kasi they have a STEM track, and that's helping because they're monitoring that. They're monitoring how many people move from senior high to more technical courses. And DOST also is promoting that. Our scholarship program is very generous, okay? And actually, it's attracting a lot of people, but not everybody makes the cut. Kailangan meron ka ring parang bang selection process. So that's in place. It's a huge program of DOST, scholarship funding, and we're funding people from, of course, high school. We have the Philippine Science High School system. We have programs in college, okay, and even master's and PhD programs. Okay, so
what I understand also, during the pandemic, you were also able to push forward with Starbucks and the DOS TV as well, right?
Okay,
Because
so-
for the DOS TV, if you can talk about it a little bit more, as well as the Starbucks, what it's about, how it's helping bring up the awareness.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that up, because those two projects are actually projects of our institute, the Science and Technology Information Institute. We are the library arm. So Starbucks is the digital copy of our library. Anong silbi ng mga libro na kinukolekta namin kung hindi yan ma-access ng mga kababayan natin? So 10 years ago, we started digitizing our content and making it available to people, okay? So you can visit that. You can go to starbucks.ph and just create an account, and you can access our content. And so it's very helpful for, of course, researchers who we serve primarily, but also for teachers, okay? Because if they're looking for materials in science and math, and they don't even have a library in their school, they can use our digital library, okay? So 10 years ago, we started to think that, hey, ang konti naman ang pwedeng pumunta sa library natin, why don't we bring our library to them? So what we did was we installed a copy of our digital library in a computer kiosk and gave out the kiosks. All right, so it's a standalone system, but allows you to access our content. Okay, it's called Starbooks. Science and Technology Academic and Research-based openly operated kiosk system. So Starbooks. Okay? Bakit Starbooks? Kasi malapit siya sa isang popular coffee, kagaya ng Koffe Klatch, coffee shop. Okay? Madaling matandaan. Okay? So anong kinalaman, anong laman ng ating Starbooks? Okay, aside from reference materials which are found in our library, it also contains teaching modules for science and math that are actually aligned with the DepEd curriculum down to the competency-based instruction coding per lesson. Andun na po siya. So science and math teachers don't have to go further or away. Andun na po siya eh, di ba? So, yung ating standalone kiosk, we have deployed more than 5,000 of that over the 5 years. Eh, ang hirap din yan kasi wala kaming budget for computers, for hardware. Ang aming software, yun ang aming contribution. But we work with our regional offices, with partners, private sector companies, also very interested to help us here. We're talking, in fact, to, we were just talking earlier this week with Knowledge Channel because they also have content that they want to share with Starbooks, okay? So, and then, alam mo, if you work with these media organizations, mas mapalawak mo yung access mo to the people and the access of the people to your content. So things like that. Nakakatuwa nga kasi when we pitch Starbooks, people get excited about it. One time, a friend of mine, I used to work with her in HP, and she's now with the board of the foundation of Telstra, which is an Australian company. Sabi niya, Richard, gusto ko yung mga ginagawa mo ngayon. How can we help? Sabi ko, punta kayo dito. Alam mo, pumunta sila. And we gave them a tour that made them understand what we wanted to do. We, of course, after a while, our coffee na naman, okay, Koffe Klatch, okay, we talked about it. And they said, Richard, we want to help you bring Starbooks to remote areas na walang electricity. This is a computer-based kiosk. Eh, hindi yan tatakbo kung walang kuryente, di ba? So they were willing to donate pati yung solar panels and batteries to make sure that the Starbooks will run in this very remote indigenous people's village schools, okay? And they decided to give 7 sets, okay? So yan ang power ng coffee. Nagpa-coffee lang po kami. We got 2 million pesos from the foundation. Yan po ang power ng coffee. Huwag natin kalimutan yan. So,
well, we don't have much time anymore. We have a very, very interesting conversation here. Director Richard Burgos, and we're so much appreciable of your efforts here, joining us, and we look forward to having more time with you. It seems there are still a lot of things to be really talked about. You seem to be having the stockpile of so much knowledge.
So diverse. Yes.
And I think a lot of the information that people can really go to is the DOST TV that they have on Facebook and YouTube every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. with Secretary Boy de la Peña. Am I right, Director Richard?
That's right. So DOST TV is the other program that we have. It's an online platform kasi meron kaming production dati, and we used to work with PTV4, of course, with GMA and other channels. But, nag-pandemic, so hindi na talaga pwede yun. So what did we do? We live streamed, just like you're doing now, because people actually can listen. And the DOST report by the Secretary every week, every Friday, 4 p.m., okay, is the go-to. Now, our media contacts, doon sila nakikinig. Doon nire-report the Secretary, pinipick up nila, nire-report nila. So, patuloy din ating public information campaign. So, ano pang maganda with DOST TV? Hindi lang kasi DOST Report, which is the Secretary's program. Meron tayong mga interview programs with the experts, so we call that Expert Talk, and that also is broadcast once a week. All right, we have science films that we show on our DOST TV channels. Right, so madami po yung content, no? Siyempre, iba-iba naman ang audience niyan. But this is what I want to say. Yung dalawang programs, yung Starbooks at saka DOST TV, are included in the National Priority Plan of NEDA. So every year, NEDA comes up with a list of government projects that the public can support. And this year, 2021, apat lang po ang projects niyan. Okay, apat. 3 are from DOST. 1 from DepEd, yung kanilang balik eskwela. Okay? Yung sa 3 ng DOST, 2 ang from our institute. Yung Starbucks at saka DOST TV, kasama po dyan sa National Priority Program ng NEDA. Now, ano ang kabuluhan ng National Priority Plan? Alam mo ngayon, ang gobyerno kailangan ng pera kasi ang dami-dami nating kailangang ilaan para sa COVID response.
Yes.
But here is a window of opportunity for private persons and companies to do away with some tax obligations. Mag-donate po sila sa Starbucks, mag-donate po sila sa DOSTV. The value of their contribution, they can claim as a tax deduction 100%.
Tax credit.
Okay? So, hindi ba maganda yon? So, yun po.
Yes.
And, yeah, no, parang nobody, very few people appreciate that, no? Na if you help, nakatulong ka na, nakabawas ka pa nakatulong ka rin sa bottom line ng iyong company, di ba? By availing of the tax break. So, maganda pong programa.
Yes.
Natutuwa kami na napasama ang DOSTV at saka Starbucks dito sa National Priority Plan. Pero hindi lang yun. Okay, ang STII, ang liit-liit namin, yung budget namin is only less than 1%. Less than 1/2 of 1% of the budget of DOST. Ganun kaliit. And we're very few. But, tingnan mo ang mga programs namin, pumapalo, kumbaga. All right, so, and this is what we did during the pandemic. Number 1, nag-pivot po kami. Yung library, wala namang mga estudyanteng pwedeng pumunta doon. So, nag-pivot kami. We organized webinars for students. We had like online library tours. We had like content for librarians. Ang dami-dami nag-attend. Content for teachers, how they can use our library. I mean, if you have a session with a group physically, siguro mga 40, 60 people, di ba? Maximum 100 kasi saan mo ilalagay yung sa room. But now with webinars, mga thousands, 2,000, and not only in the Philippines but also from other parts of the world. Ang galing, di ba? Pivot. If you cannot deliver your service one way, deliver it in another way. So that challenged us, and I think we're very happy that we have pivoted. Number 2, perform. Hindi dahilan ang COVID pandemic, ang quarantine, para hindi ka mag-perform. Alam mo naman ang sa gobyerno, pag hindi ka nag-perform, wala kang bonus, wala kang increase the next year. So kailangan mo mag-produce, di ba? So all the more we have produced, we have exceeded our targets. Even COA gave us an unconditional opinion on our financial transactions in 2019. And in 2020, we are expecting the same. Naka-endorse na po kami. So, performance counts, especially in government service. And of course, number 3 is excel. Okay? Kasi hindi sapat na gumawa ka na lang just because kailangan gawin. Kailangan mo rin mag-excel. Yung aming DOSTV, early part of this year, nanalo siya ng mga awards, including the Anvil Award from the Public Relations Society of the Philippines and the Gandingan Awards from the UPLB students group, no, media group, no. So nakakatuwa na yung ating mga programa ay kinikilala sa kabila ng aming kakulangan sa budget at konti lang kami. All right? So,
well, that's so. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Pivot. Yeah, pivot, perform, and excel. Yun po ang aming PPE. At yun po ang nakatulong sa amin na magiging ligtas at magtagumpay sa kabila ng restrictions of the pandemic. So maraming salamat po for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Indeed, very illuminating yung ating chat for today. Koffe Klatch, always steaming coffee. And indeed, it was very pleasurable to have a chat with you, Director Burgos. Mabuhay po kayo and good morning.
Salamat po, USEC Jing. Taga San Carlos, Rabi ako sa Negros Occidental. And,
yes.
Yes.
Maraming Burgos sa Gihulngan eh. That's my hometown.
I know. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I'm very happy. I've shared this morning with Mr. Ado Paglinawan, and of course Miss Z, the bright and beautiful Miss Z. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for.
the beauty queen of our program.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you once again, Director Richard Burgos. And once again, for all of our viewers who are watching, the STII is responsible for the coordination of science and technology related projects in the Philippines and to formulate policies and projects in the field of science and technology in support of national development. You can continue to follow them on their page on Facebook and on YouTube for more information and, of course, to be a part of some of their programs that they have. If you also want to donate or yes, I think the best word is to donate the funds, as at least you know where your money is going to. If you don't want to pay taxes, at least you can donate it to a cause that you feel is most likely the most related to your values, especially if you are very into STEM and research. It's best that your company, if you are a private person or company, to continue to donate to STII under the DOST. And we do have more guests coming your way in the next few Saturdays. So we hope that you can continue to join us every Saturday here at around 10:30 in the morning so that we can go live and discuss all of your concerns and your questions with a lot of the important people in government and in other areas.
Well, indeed, we hope you will oblige us to have coffee again next Saturday. This is Ado Paglinawan. It's my pleasure having you with us today and next Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. And we hope to see you again in our next program this coming Saturday. And good luck and be happy. Keep safe always.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.